Welcome back to Vital Signs. We are going to shift gears and talk all things fertility. And today, what is the role of functional medicine in fertility with our special guest, Jessica Preston of DeNova Fertility. Jessica, welcome back.
Thank you for having me, Jen.
Okay, Jessica, so let's talk functional medicine. How does the functional medicine approach differ from, the traditional medical model when we approach fertility?
Okay, so when we look at anything in medicine, so not just fertility, but conventional medicine looks at what is going on, what is wrong, so looking at a diagnostic, so testing for a diagnosis, and then how can we treat that diagnosis. Functional medicine takes the lens of why do we have the diagnosis in the first place. And so the way that we look at things with functional medicine is we try to put our little detective hat on and go back in time. We look at your history because when we have a diagnosis of some kind, so in this case, infertility, we want to know what led us there to begin with so we can go back and try to address those factors first.
So really root cause.
Yes.
Digging deep as opposed to kind of like putting a Band-Aid or peeling one. It's not peeling an onion one level at a time. It's getting to like the core of the apple.
Right, and sometimes it is peeling that onion one layer at a time, but it is at that core. At that core, what is that first domino that fell in order to get us in that domino effect of infertility in the first place?
So this detective situation sounds like it's a lot of work. How is it that you're able to really integrate this approach, and how do you get to that root cause? Like, what does that look like? Take us through this a little bit. If I am someone who's dealing with infertility and I come into the functional medicine space, what can I expect?
Okay, so the first thing I think of is exactly that. How did we get here? So I want to know all about the different parts of your life that have been challenging. So in a lot of different ways. Some of them are stress related. We might not think that stress has a lot to do with any kind of disease or disorder state. But if you think about it, heart disease and stress, when we think about it, our conventional medicine lens, we see it that same way. So what we want to look at are those pieces? What are those parts of your life that were really impactful in that way? And how did you react and respond? Did you have a support network around you? And then we do look at those core things that impact our biochemistry. So when we talk biochemistry, I know people might get a little bit on edge, but we're not
Wait, that's science.
Yeah, I know it's science, it's science. And so when we're looking at the biochemistry and physiology of how do we work on a cellular level, because it's those very intricate pieces and components that are actually going to say whether the machine, being us, or the small machines, the cells, the next size of machine, the organ, and then the system, and then the whole body, how is all of that going to work and function well? So we put together, what did you have in your upbringing, your adulthood that got you to this point? What is in your lifestyle at this point in time? In functional medicine, we learn a lot about what are those intricacies on that biochemical level. We call it a systems biology approach. And so when we look at those interconnected pieces, we want to see where do we get the aha? There's a lot of training here. I'm trying to put this down in a simpler fashion. Where do we get the aha? And believe it or not, when people show up in front of us, it's pretty clear when we've been doing this for a while where those areas are. The hardest thing to hear is that the part that is most likely needing to be fixed is one of usually the hardest parts that we are willing to fix as an individual. If you think about it, if we don't have, I know we've spoken nutrition before, if we don't have good nutrition, but we do fine in our exercise, sleep, and all of these will change our hormonal balance or imbalances, then that might need to be where we are first. If somebody won't eat a vegetable, we might actually need to go in that direction as well. But if we have a shift worker or somebody who has chronic insomnia and there's nothing that they seem to be able to do about it, it's really important for us to take a look at that. I know I'm talking a lot about lifestyle. Even in our testing, which is a little bit different in functional medicine testing, when we are working with testing, when we look at the outcome of the test, frequently we're still going to make a change that is more impactful when it comes to lifestyle or environmental exposure in order to correct what we find on the test.
And so it's very different than traditional medicine. But how does functional medicine complement or work together with traditional medicine? What does that look like in fertility?
We work a lot with conventional medicine, especially when it comes to those people who have a structural issue, like tubes are blocked for female factor, or a varicocele which is a male factor issue. If there's a component where we need to have an in vitro fertilization aspect, then we want to work with those IVF providers so that we can correct those issues as opposed to bypassing them and then getting to your fertility journey. We find that when you use a system such as a functional medicine or a functional wellness program in concert at the same time prior to IVF, the success rates are much higher.
And talk to me a little bit about that, because a lot of people, we know what IVF is. It's the buzzword, it's what's been happening. And for some people, it's a last resort, but for other people, it's what we know. So it's the first thing we go to. Right. What does that partnership look like? So that should they be thinking about the lifestyle first? Where does that flow, or how does that approach happen?
Well, I'm a convert to functional medicine from conventional medicine. It's 20 years in OBGYN conventionally, and then the past 10, 15 in functional. I believe we should always implement those functional pieces first so that we can optimize ourselves for many reasons. One, healthy egg and sperm, and doing our best to optimize our system, optimize our hormones, so that we can have less of a struggle when it comes to IVF or so the in vitro fertilization or other fertility approaches that are conventional in nature. Also, we tend to have less of a stress component when we are using these functional medicine processes first, because one of the big components is stress management and making sure that we are on top of where we need to be for our health and well-being. We know that when we are our own advocate and when we are taking good care of ourselves or on our process and path to take good care of ourselves, we have better outcomes.
Absolutely. And you mentioned stress, and we've talked about stress before here on the show. And I think that one of the things that people don't talk about is how stressful it is if you're not able to conceive, if you are having fertility issues, and even how stressful the traditional medical treatments are. It is very challenging on the relationships. It's a relationship stress, it's a physiological stress. There's a lot of stress and shame and things that are associated with that. So if we're incorporating the lifestyle and the functional medicine, what I'm hearing is we're better equipped to handle whatever we're going to do from a medical treatment standpoint. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. And my IVF colleagues are usually, they are so good at what they do. So when people are working in conventional medicine in their space, they're on top of the latest research and what can they do. They don't want you to take more than one cycle to conceive. So they really want to incorporate everything they possibly can to make you more successful as well.
And lifestyle is one of those tools in the toolbox.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing this. I think it was very enlightening. And so for our viewers who are listening at home, what is the one takeaway that you would like them to have if they're like, hey, this is happening in our life, where do I go? Where do I go first? Chicken, egg? How do I get started? How can they do that?
First thing that I would do is know that there are other options besides conventional medicine. Don't rule out conventional medicine. It is a good place to go to be able to get some answers right away. So that is a place that you can go. But looking into the functional medicine route gets you more than a 15-minute appointment time. It can give you more answers and give you some more strategies of how you can help yourself on this path.
Fantastic. And for our viewers and our listeners who are hearing this and they're like, oh my goodness, yes, I want to learn more about what you do, Jessica, how can they get in touch with you so that they can have that more holistic approach and have that integrative approach to their journey?
Thank you for asking. We are denovofertility.com. You can also find us on all socials. We're on Facebook at De Novo Fertility Community, and we're also on Instagram and TikTok as well. And feel free on our website if you want to go and ask us questions. There is a little Ask Us Questions tab that you can ask questions. Also, you can sign up for a phone call with one of us. You will get one of us on our team. It's not a receptionist, it's not a call center. You'll get one of us that actually works with you to have a conversation to see how we can help you best.
Thank you so much for your expertise. I think it's absolutely valuable, everything that you bring to the table. And unfortunately, we do have to end, but thank you for joining us today, Jessica.
Thank you so much for having me, Jen.
And we will be right back after these messages.